One.
Good afternoon and welcome back to iProperty Radio Live at the National Construction Summit 2025 here in Blanchardstown. We are coming to the tail end of day 2, so if you hear noise in the background, it is the deconstructing of some of the best exhibition stands I've seen at an exhibition stand in Ireland. Joining me right now is Mark Kane, Senior Director of VBC. Mark, thank you so much. Thank you so much for stepping away from the madness to come in and join us. How has your experience been over the last 2 days?
It's been really, really interesting, Carol. We've had a great 2 days here. Last year, we attended the Construction Summit.
Yeah.
And over the course of a year, we've realized we've gone from just attendees to actually exhibiting and presenting. So it's been a great journey for us over the last 2 days. I think the diversity is something of delegates is something that really stood out to us.
Okay.
Diversity from a private sector, public sector perspective.
Yeah.
You know, that's one that was really interesting. Diversity between Irish and international. That was something that was really cool now and really interesting as well to experience. Okay. Isn't it great to come to an Irish National Construction Summit and meet people who are developing across Europe, who are delivering across the UK? I think that was something that we were really pleasantly surprised about. And then great diversity across the asset classes. Yeah. So was it all about resi? It wasn't. Was it largely about resi? Yes. Mm-hmm. But were there other diversifications there? Student accommodation, key worker accommodation. That's coming through across very strongly as well. So a really interesting, stimulating day yesterday, and something really similar again today. You know, you come to these things and you think, goodness, will you have the dreaded second day lull or dip? Yeah. No, the energy here today on the second day it bowled us over again.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take, and I think one of the real ways that we can demonstrate that is that you and I were hoping to catch up yesterday, 10 different times yesterday. Absolutely. And again today, and it was so busy, and you rightly described it as a champagne problem because it was so difficult to see everything that was happening. There were so many interesting things happening across all the stages.
Yes.
But the exhibition stands, I think, this year are what I really noticed. It's almost like the industry has been traveling to the UK and to Germany and to other countries, experiencing exhibitors, and you can really see it because they're upping their game
hugely.
The quality of the exhibitors here has been phenomenal.
I agree, and like you, did I get enough time to really experience my colleagues and the wider construction sector? I was tipping in and out because we had to man the stand so much back to the busy footfall. But the exhibits that I saw, excellent. Do they compare with anything I've seen in Europe and the US? Absolutely. I think the other really key thing as well, the speakers, really diverse, really interesting. So I think the caliber of presentation as well as exhibition, I think we should remember that we had as many presentations as we had exhibitions going on here. You know, it's a two-sided summit, isn't it? So I thought the speakers were really good. Really good.
Did you learn anything today? Over the last 2 days?
Over the last 2 days, I guess the things that I've come away from, a much wider network of contacts. Okay, so I learned that it's not all about resi and Ireland. There are those other sectors with those other countries, with those other jurisdictions. That was really good. I think probably the biggest takeaway for me and for VBC as a company, though, is the level of willingness and appetite to actually be part of a solution. I mean, I know this is an international summit and I've talked about an international portfolio of companies and delegates, but when I'm talking to other companies here, other MMC companies here, everybody is talking about, can we collaborate? What about co-opetition as much as competition? We're all pulling on the green jersey. We're all seeing where the gaps are from a societal perspective. So my big takeaway is there's an absolute skill set and a willingness to help this country, you know, move to the next best thing it can be, be it in residential and residential demands, be it student accommodation demands, be it in health and healthcare demands with ward blocks. The willingness and the desire and the appetite of the industry to be part of that jigsaw piece is just, that jumped off the page of me. It was great, energizing.
I love that you packaged it like that, and you know, that whole co-opetition approach, that when competitors collaborate, it's so important. And I think that's actually one of the driving facets of MMC Ireland as a body and many of the other trade organisations that are there. The reality is the offsite and other modern methods of construction sector in Ireland, we are too early and too small to compete. We have to collaborate.
We do.
can collaborate, and
We
then
do.
we'll grow.
Yes.
And then we'll compete with the best of them.
Absolutely.
And each other.
Absolutely.
But you have to, at this stage, we have to work together to grow the pipeline, to grow the industry. And I think, what you're pointing to there is really the strength of the industry.
Of the collective industry.
The collective industry.
It is.
I love
the collectiveness.
As an industry, do you feel supported? Because obviously the state is one of the largest buyers of construction projects.
Yes.
They are also, I suppose, the regulators of how projects can be delivered on the ground, how they're financed, but they're also the gatekeeper of the money for the infrastructure needed to facilitate the projects. And I genuinely think after nearly a quarter of a century in this industry, I think it's only the last number of years, we're starting to see the whole picture together.
I agree. And it is a jigsaw piece, isn't it, Carol?
It is, yeah.
Every little piece kind of supports the other as well.
Yeah.
And I guess
just policy support the construction industry, like not just the on the volumetric, but actually across MMC and traditional construction.
Yeah.
Just policy support where we need to be.
Yeah, look, we're in a very fortunate position where we can compare Ireland from a policy perspective with other countries that we're working in. So, like, we've delivered projects at this stage now. We have worked across 17 different countries. So we see policy and we see regulatory requirements within a myriad of different jurisdictions. So we're very lucky to be able to say what's strong and what could be better in Ireland relative to our experiences in other countries. And I know this is something that my own CEO, Von Buckley, would say, and it's something that I earnestly, honestly believe. The policy platform in Ireland is second to none. We find it's wholly positive. We have a political system that has mandated, as you said, not volumetric, MMC as a whole, across all categories. In a very democratic way, it is realizing that we have a significant, very talented construction sector, but the capacity of that construction sector needs to be supplemented. It needs to be able to work in tandem with MMC. We have fantastic GCs working here. We really have some strong GCs working here. We have fantastic Indigenous home builders working here. But if we're going to respond to society and the demands and the housing numbers and the student accommodation numbers and the beds that we need, all those societal demands that affect us, all of us, the government has created a policy platform that is creating the headroom for that GC sector to be supplemented with MMC. We haven't seen a stronger policy platform in any of the countries we're working in.
Hold on a second, that doesn't make sense then, because you're painting a picture of a very strong industry. You're painting a picture based on international perspectives, because obviously VBC is such an international company, although obviously we're dealing with the base in Monaghan. But it's an international company, so you have the international perspective and that global perspective. So if we have a strong industry and we have a strong policy platform, why aren't we delivering more?
And that's the piece, isn't it? There's a bridging piece there. Somewhere along the way, Carol, we have policy that talks about keep doing the great work you're doing in the general construction. Now also move pipelines into MMC. Get the GC, if that equals it 1 unit and MMC equals 1 unit, well then 2 units being enabled and being supported is better than us putting all the eggs into 1 unit. So supplement that capacity. And as an industry, we have fantastic expertise. So where's the gap? What's the bridging piece? What's the difficulty piece? When we move into any country, VBC, when we set up in any country, for us, there's 3 legs to a stool. And we have to have all 3 legs coming together and working together if we're going to be able to add value to that country. So the first leg of that stool is what we've already talked about. Is there a strong policy platform that mandates modern methods of construction? We're only one of a myriad, but if we feel there's a policy platform, we have a chance to compete. We have a chance to actually turn some of them into contracts. Brilliant. The second piece is on the regulatory side. So on a regulatory side for us, I don't mean building regulations and planning permissions in particular. We manufacture a product. So from a regulatory perspective, NSAI, Agremont certification. Is there a strong regulatory, rigorous process that if we bring our product to the market, our customers can say it must be safe, it must be good because the regulatory process is so robust. Ireland ticks the regulatory box because we have a fantastic NSAI process that can kill us trying to get it, but by God, isn't it worth all the pain when you do get it? Talk about giving confidence to the clients and to end users. talk about giving confidence around the policy. So we see two really strong legs to the stool. What's the third leg? The procurement piece. So the platform says adopt MMC, regulatory is strong, we're doing something with a safe product that aligns with a government policy. Why are we not able to break in? I think we need to spend time in Ireland on the procurement piece. We're doing so much good work in all of those other facets and aspects. We can move through the gears with private developers. We can get through engagement into discussions around commercials, into initial design proposals, into design contracts. I can do that over a series of meetings, over a series of a number of months. Parallel that with colleagues in the public sector.
Yeah.
They're unfortunately, because it's value for money, because it's taxpayers' money, they have to be really sure that they're doing something that actually is done through a very rigorous, robust process. And that robust process, procurement process, typically says the one way you demonstrate that you can do what you're saying you're doing in the future for us, a public body, is you have to have done it before for us. Where does that create space for innovation? Where does that create space for the new ways of working? So the government say, embrace new ways of working, embrace modern methods, open up the construction sector to this other elements. But procurement processes say, okay, but have you done it before? So there's something there where we're jarring. There's something there that we still haven't got quite right.
How are other jurisdictions dealing with that?
They're being more open-minded about it, and they're being more innovative in relation to their procurement approaches.
Or are they less maybe less negative or structured in what they see as failure? Are they building in a tolerance? And failure isn't even the right word, it's more iteration. But are we not leaving any scope for trying?
I guess if we look at our next nearest neighbours, every time if we talk about residential, or if we talk about health, or if we talk about justice, whatever the sector is in the UK, whenever the public agency for that particular sector stands up a framework. If the framework is we're going to build €1 billion worth of schools in the UK, if they stand up a framework which is pointed towards the general construction sector, they stand up an equivalent framework for modular. And they're saying we now have two frameworks that represents the spectrum of construction, modern and conventional. So they always carve and copy, and they give equal footing in a very democratic way again to all aspects. In Ireland, we haven't gotten there yet. Education, I think, in Ireland is a great way where they do have frameworks specifically for modern methods. They're even more specific for volumetric modular. So they're a leading light. Do we have enough of that in the other public agencies? Where's the volumetric modular frameworks or the MMC frameworks in the other public agencies?
How can we carry that learning?
I think it's up to the people who are leading lights within the civil and public service to say, you and I have spoken previously about lessons learned, in energy and sustainability and all those other things where we've shot the breeze before about lessons learned. Wouldn't it be great if we saw some of the public agencies standing up forums with MMC Ireland saying, you seem to be doing something good in education. Let's look at a couple of key metrics. So across the previous framework in education, did the majority of projects come in on budget? Did they come in on program? Did they meet the necessary quality? The normal metrics, what was your safety run rate? And if you're ticking something really good in education using a volumetric modular framework, well then, what's the principles of standing that up for great colleagues in the Department of Housing, great colleagues within the Department of Health and the HSE? What are the lessons learned that could bubble across and translate across from one agency to another? So I think there's some really good grass shoots here in Ireland. You can see the green shoots coming through in education. But when I look at our next nearest neighbour and the wider European Union, they're miles ahead of us at a public perspective. As I said, every single public agency in Europe and the UK stands up for justice, for prisons, for beds in healthcare, for homes. Everyone has a parallel modular or MMC framework to complement the general contracting framework. We're not quite there yet. So I think that's the bit when you say great policy, strong industry expertise. What's the bridging piece that's missing? Considering the biggest contracting authority in this country is the public service, will be the public service. So that bridging piece, I think, is just a bit we'd love to see getting polished and tweaked and refined to the next level.
Mark, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you when you haven't challenged the way I think about something or given me something new to think about. I think that's the right note to end on, because I want to think about that a little longer.
pause.
I want to think about that a
Thank
little
you.
longer. And actually, I think, but it's really positive to think, yes, we have that strong policy platform. Yes, we
Yes.
have that strong industry. So maybe industry could help inform that bridge. Maybe
agree.
this is where the collaboration piece comes in, and it's not just across competitors, but between public and private sector. And
Absolutely. As
Yeah.
I said, what came across in the floor today and yesterday, it was the willingness of everyone to pull on the green jersey and say, we want to do something for Ireland. Let us at it.
Yeah.
There's an appetite, there's a hunger there. It reminded me of when I was working for the HSE, working in capital estates, and we were facing down the barrel of COVID and what was going to happen to us as a country. And my phone never stopped ringing from brilliant contractors, from brilliant MMC companies saying, how can we help you? That's there today in relation to residential accommodation as the big one, and all the other sectors as well. But you can see it coming off the floor. There's a hunger. We're ready to go, Carol.
you're ready to go. On that note, I'm closing because you're absolutely ready to go.
Ready to
Mark,
go.
thank you
Thank you.
so much for taking time off the
Right.
main floor to be here with us in the
Great to
iProperty
be here.
Radio studio at the
Pleasure.
National Construction Summit. That was Mark Kane, Senior Director of VBC.